Well, hello my darlings, and welcome back to our channel. I am so glad you are here. Today we are going to create a 5-candle tabletop candelabra. I hope you'll stay tuned, and also please be sure to stick around to the end so that I can share with you some comments from some of our dynamic darlings. For this project, you will need 1 styrofoam brick. You will need 5 of these hurricane lanterns. You will need 1 of these decorative glass bowls. You will need 1 of these decorative cake plates. You will need a roll of silver diamond wrap, some flowers, any color, any type of your choosing. You will also need these short crystal garlands as well as glass pendants, and of course you will need your handy dandy tools. Let's get crafting. So the first thing we're going to do is prepare our cake plate, to hold our crystal garlands and our crystal pendants. Now I am only going to be making holes to hold 10 of these. However, when you are recreating this, if you would like to place them going all the way around the bottom of your dish, the choice is absolutely up to you. Now I'm going to be using my styrofoam cutter for this part of the project instead of using my soldering iron, but this is going to give me the same effect. All I'm doing is placing the hot tip of that styrofoam cutter onto the plastic, counting half of that cake dish, then I'm turning it around again in the opposite direction to count my half again. And then once I have placed those 2 holes, I'm going to count half and half, which is going to be 6 scallops in between the 2 holes that we just previously made. And then on the 3rd scallop, just to ensure that I'm making enough holes to hold the 10 of my crystal garlands. Once I have done that, it is simply going to be a matter of placing the crystal garlands and the crystal pendants in those holes so that this part of our project will be complete. And so to do this, once I'm finished with this last placement of this hole, to do this, all I'm simply going to do is take my crystal garland, open up one of those O-rings. You can either do this with a jewelry wrench is coming to mind, but you know that's what I mean, or you can do it with your nails. I opted to do this with my nail because I'm working on a flat surface, and of course it's not working now because you guys are watching, so don't watch, turn away. But once you have gotten that O-ring to clip over the flat part of that crystal plate, it is simply a matter of just feeding it into the hole and allowing it to clip in. So here we have our cake dish in which we have made our 10 holes to place our acrylic garlands and our pendants. And now, in full disclosure, I am going to show you what I'm going to have to do to correct an error that I made. Now, without that glass candle holder that I just placed there, my crystal garlands would not hang. And so in order to ameliorate that, I am going to place another layer between my bowl and my cake dish to give this piece another lift. Initially, the design was to have that cake plate sit flush against that bowl, but once again, because my garlands were too long and not wanting to have to go through each and every one of them and take out one of the crystals and one of the O-rings, I decided to place another level between the bowl and the cake dish. So as you can see, what I'm doing here is opening my 2-part epoxy, and I'm going to use the plunger to make sure that I am getting out equal parts of the adhesive, as well as the hardener. And once I have done that, pretty much as discussed in our Monday's video, all I will have to do is pull back on that plunger, and that will stop that epoxy from coming out of the container. Then I will cover it and I will be able to move on with the next step of this project. What I'm going to do now is mix the epoxy for about 20 seconds, and then once I have done that, I'm going to use copious amounts of that epoxy on the bottom of that candle holder, because where I'm gluing it to the bowl has a lot of nooks and crannies, and as we discussed on Monday, we are going to want that epoxy to fill in all of those nooks and crannies. Again, once I have placed my epoxy, I'm simply going to find my placement and apply some pressure, making sure that that candle holder is not going to slide on the glass bowl. Once I have done that, I'm going to use the balance of the epoxy that I have already mixed so as none of it goes to waste, and I'm going to place that epoxy on the rim of the candle holder. And then I'm going to take my cake plate, I am going to place it, or rather center it, using the circles that are there, apply some pressure, and then I will allow these 2 pieces to sit and set for about 15 to 20 minutes. So while we wait on our pieces to set, we are going to dress our hurricane lanterns, by simply placing a ribbon of diamond wrap around the neck. And to do this, I'm simply going to go in with a foundation of permanent glue, and this is to be sure that when you're looking inside the glass to the outside, you're not going to have the residue that hot glue will usually leave behind. But to make sure that this ribbon is going to set in place almost instantaneously, we are going to leave a dab of hot glue to start, and then we're going to lay our ribbon going all the way around. And once we get back to the opposite side, we are going to similarly close that ribbon with another dab of hot glue, and hopefully not too much so that that hot glue is going to seep through or leave too much of a residue on that glass so as to be seen. And so once you have done this and closed it, just go around making sure that diamond wrap is fitting into the indentation of that neck, and then completing the process 4 more times on your 4 hurricane lanterns that are left. So here we have our foundation that has been set into place, and what we're going to do now is place a layer of our styrofoam down into the middle, which is what is going to give our 5th candle holder that elevation that it needs to offset it from the other 4. And now to do this, all I'm going to do is go ahead with some hot glue on the commercial flat side, and once I have placed that foundation of glue, I'm simply going to place my styrofoam in its place, centering it using the circles that are there. And once I am satisfied with the placement, I am simply going to allow this to set for a few moments. While I'm satisfied that this piece is set in place, I am going to take one of the hurricane lamps, well, actually 2 of them, And I'm going to start finding the placement of these lamps before I start to glue them down. So using the demarcation, of course, of east, west, north, and south, placing them where I would like them to sit and making sure that the closures of those diamond wraps are all pointed inside. I'm then going to take my final hurricane lamp and I'm going to place it atop of that styrofoam so that I can see what this will look like. Now, as you can see, that vase is leaning a little bit. That means I'm going to have to shave off a few more pieces of that styrofoam. But once I'm satisfied of where all of these pieces are going to sit, I'm simply going to lay my floral arrangement so that when I go to place my hurricane lamps, my floral arrangements would have already been made. So I'm going to continue this process off camera, and when I return, I will tell you what's next. So here is our piece that has been partially completed with the flowers that we have laid down and our top candle holder already being in place. Now what I'm going to show you is how I'm going to glue down the first of our candle holders using a 2-part epoxy. But to do this, I'm going to have to remove one of my roses to ensure that that vase will be able to sit securely. In addition, you can see that I went around the base of that styrofoam with a very thick layer of that diamond wrap, and that was to make sure, seeing that we could not place flowers all the way down the entire height of that styrofoam, that green styrofoam is obscured. So all I did was place a good amount of that 2-part epoxy onto the base of that vase, and I set it in place and applied a little bit of pressure. What I'm going to do is continue that same process, removing my flowers, applying my epoxy to make sure that these vases are going to sit in the right place, and I am going to allow this to set for about 15 to 20 minutes. When I come back, I will have all of those vases glued down. I will have this cleaned up of any glue fronds there are. I will have this staged so that you will be able to see our final project. Well, here you have it, my darlings, our 5-candle tabletop candelabra. Isn't this piece just simply exquisite? I think I would have to say that my favorite part of this piece would have to be the transparency of the glass without any colors attached to this piece except for the colors of the flowers we used. Now, of course, if you wanted to color this, you might probably be able to spray paint this in a metallic gold or a metallic silver or even a stained glass color. But I think for the purposes for which we created this evening, this piece stands on its own. My darlings, if you have found any value in this video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up as well as leave me a comment in the comment section below. I would love to hear from you. To my Danny's darlings, I just would like to take the time to thank you for all of your comments, your love, your feedback, your questions, and last but not least, of course, your encouragement, especially over these past few filmings where you have heard that I'm congested and suffering with my first cold of the school year. Yay, students! To those of you, however, who may not yet be a Danny's darlings, but who possibly may have stumbled upon our channel today, please be sure to consider joining our ever-growing community of DIYers as we learn from and craft with each other on a weekly basis. We would love to have you. And if you so choose to join our ever-growing community, also be sure to click the notification bell to be made aware whenever any of our videos have been published. Well, before I sign off today, I would like to leave you with the motto to our channel, which is simply this: why buy when you can DIY? And so, my darlings, my loves, until next time, I say to you, please, please, please take care of yourselves for me. Know that I love you all. Bye now. Thank you so much for sticking around, those of you who are still here, and honoring these dynamic darlings whose comments stood out to me this week. The first person we're going to honor today is Missy Gold, who shared with us her ingenious yet time-saving epoxy technique. And if you would like to read this comment in its entirety, please be sure to go back to the epoxy pros and cons and read her comment, the comment which will be pinned on top all other comments. So thank you, Missy. The next person we're going to honor today is Miss Daisy Sanchez, who, after previewing or watching rather the gender reveal paper lantern video, came up with the awesome idea of making this piece all in white to use it as a wedding centerpiece. So thank you very much, Miss Daisy, for sharing your idea. Please know that it is appreciated. And last but not least of our dynamic darlings today, I would like you guys to give some love to Miss Abina T, who understood the vision that I came up with when I created the piece Fairies in the City. And not only did she understand my vision, but she is planning to take my vision and turn it into hers when making a beautiful piece for the upcoming holidays. So please be sure to give these ladies a congratulations in the comment section below. And who knows, with your ingenious commenting and all your warm words and encouragement, one of your comments may just be featured next time.